Just getting set up, folks. Sup, everyone? Sup? I think I'm all set up. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna Odin it up. I'm gonna be using Odin. Sup, Panda? And we're back to boat ship chess because I need a break because I'm just worked out of my mind. I'm sick and tired of fighting degenerate programmers about their stupid feelings and experiences. They think that the IT industry is in good shape. Sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of reading science papers. Okay, I've had enough for now. Later on, I will tackle it again. But for now, God, it's just so draining. So, I'm going to be using Odin to build boat ship chess. And I'm going to try and construct this into episodes where we actually break down the concept of the game. And I'm sick and tired of caving to people who try and snipe me as I build these things. We got way too complex with the Zig stuff. And I've been fighting using Odin for a while. And I've been convinced. I've seen the light. I've been converted. What's up, Ibra? Give up, give in to the dark side, use React. How dare you, sir? How dare you subscribe to me on a 4-month streak, by the way. I really appreciate that, Ibra. Thank you, man. But then encourage me to use React. If I had half a mind, I'd kick you out. But I don't even have half a mind. I have like a partial mind. So it is what it is. So yeah, we're gonna use Odin. I really enjoy Odin and just the brief stuff that I've done with it. I'm building a product with Odin. And it's been, honestly, it's been like Zig plus a little bit better. And I really like Zig. That's the problem. It's like I really enjoy Zig. But I enjoy Odin just a little bit more. And I actually think Odin is more, it's actually even more in the direction of where I'd like to see the industry go towards. This is the kind of programming language I want to see. I don't know, just Ginger Bill has done a really good job. So yeah. Hello, Error. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Error? I think it's probably been a little while since we talked. I don't remember the last time you popped in here, Error, but I remember seeing you. Yeah. All right. All right. So let me get set up here. I got to switch over to I guess I should like make sure. Yeah. Okay. So I do have the old game running somewhere I have it running. Is it editor? I don't even remember, guys. I remember nothing. Oh. Oh, yeah. So it was here. It's, I don't know, something's up with it. I guess maybe I broke the whole thing because it's been so long. Oh, you were warning and then you switched share. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. Doing fine? Good. Glad to hear that, man. Glad to hear that. All right. So this... Oh, man, Twitch ads. Fine. I'll put Twitch ads on. Here, while Twitch ads are playing, I'm just going to see if I can figure out what's going on here. Oops, console log. That way, by the time the Twitch ads are done, hopefully we've got a... Yeah, this ain't right. Oh, this is the one we want. It would be editor. Oh. Yeah, this is strange. Oh, am I not checked out on the right branch? No, I'm on the right branch. Oh, yeah, I'm on the right branch. It's cleanup. Okay, well, you know what? You know what? I'm just going to be just straight up with all of you. I don't even care. I don't even care that this current version isn't working. I just don't care. No one cares, all right? We're starting fresh. F it, okay? Who cares? We're going to straight up raw dog it. We're raw dogging episode 1. Write some tests. Have you been, Mario Man? I've been good. I've been good. I've been it's been a little bit up and down with work and stuff. But you know, other than that, I've been all right. You're subbed, you don't see ads, yeah. Yeah, Nikor, you're subbed, man. Latest streams have been during nighttime here. Yeah, I've been streaming at weird times. This is the first time I've been able to get some streams in. It's yeah, it's a little bit rough. Do you still update your blog about performance? I forgot about your site. Yeah, I do. Well, actually, no. To be fair, I don't. It's enlightenedprogramming.com. Enlightenedprogramming.com. I need to do a whole bunch of editing. So the videos, like the live streams that I've done, the last 5 on my YouTube, because Twitch deletes them after a while, I think, so they're just forever up on YouTube for free. I have to edit them. I have to cut them down and edit them. And yeah, I should link it. You're right, Ibra. Here you go, folks. So I got to edit them. I got to put in the textual format, and then I got to do some recordings offline for some extra stuff that goes into each video, so that it's not just a edited version of the live stream, which you can get for free. There's just something a little additional. Maybe I add like some things I didn't talk about during the initial video, during the initial live stream, or something like that. So I got to update it. So I'm working on it, but it's it takes time that I do not have right now. So I'm working on getting those live streams. But if you want to just watch the live stream, you can just go on my YouTube and watch the live stream, and you'll get like a vast majority of the information. I'll follow Modern Tech, let it crash. Yeah. Hey, Ray on YouTube. How you doing? Good to see you. You might have put your email there. Yeah. I won't pull it up on screen, but I think there's 3 people, maybe 4, who who have put their email in here. I think right down here, you just put your email, and essentially the only reason I'm gonna use the email is just to like shoot an email out when a new article is up, and it'll be behind a paywall, which will be like $1 or $2. I don't know yet. It'll be something cheap, but it's just something. And it's just, I'll literally just send like a stupid little email and be like, hey, here's a new article, you can go here and get it. Yeah. So Ray on YouTube, can I ask you why you use one monitor and why your laptop one? I really like the portability of my laptop. It does everything I need just fine. I find 2 monitors to be distracting unless I'm streaming. So right now I am running on 2 monitors. I usually don't, even during streaming. I like to just be able to focus. But it's just easier to share a second screen on like your video source and put it on stream. So for the stream, I'm using 2 monitors. But normally I really enjoy focusing on one. I don't know. It's like putting blinders, and you just like focus in. All right. So Twitch ads are done for now. We're just gonna start like raw dogging this. We need HTML. We need a head. That's what she said. And then we need a title, and it'll be like, get that head, yo, because I'm immature. And then we, knock off the head, and then we go with the body. It's like, yeah, like all that body, yeah. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call this Odin HTML. And if I've done this correctly, boom, we all up in that business. And oh, come on, background, go dark, color, white. All right, dark mode. Okay. Hello, Ghost on Twitch. How you doing? Now on the Odin side, we're going to start up a new file, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of come up with a few concepts of like what this game essentially is gonna be, and what we want to put in the game. So hang on, let me make sure no one's bothering me on phone. All right. So you know what? Maybe a good idea, since this is episode 1, I'll just kind of go through the the introduction here. Okay, so I know a lot of you have heard this already. I'll just do like super brief. We got a boat ship chess game. You can look at previous streams that are very unstructured. Essentially, it's just this old Super Nintendo game, and you just travel the world with a fleet of ships. You got to build your fleet. You got to manage them. You got to manage your crew, your captain, or your captains. The hull, the amount of cannons you carry. You can explore the entire world. There's a trading system with like individual and global economies. There's wind patterns depending on where you are, which affect your sailing speed. You can be a pirate and like attack, duel other captains, and it's crazy. So we're gonna keep it stupid simple though, right? So to start with Odin, what we want to do is we want to do something along the lines of we just want to set like the number of ships we want to have on screen. We're just going to keep it really dumb. It's just going to be a world with like a size of, I don't know, width and height, and we'll just do like 8x8, something just dumb. Each ship is going to be its own entity, and it's just going to be We can call it like a ship ID. I guess we can have an ID as well. ID, width, height. So yeah, okay. So let's start structuring this out a little bit. It's gonna have like health points. Sure, let's just call it HP. And then it's gonna have, well, for now that's it. Let's just keep it like that. And then in the world, you're gonna have layers, right? So it's gonna be, a layer will be something like, if you have a background layer, then it's just gonna be an 8x8 of the world that it's in, or like this, the width times height of world it belongs to, and then each width times height cell just contains like one, potentially like just one or like the same background image repeated, right? And so we saw that previously when we had the ocean as the background, and it was just like the same asset repeated over and over again. So that's one layer style. There's another layer style, which could be just anything, right? And it still is the width and height of the world it belongs to, but each cell has a different asset. So you can make it like, you can make it say like the ship goes here or whatever it is. So at some point you're going to have to do something like, where does the ship go? Right? So if we started with that, so what you can do is you can just keep the ship separate as its own entity. It doesn't matter. It's just an entity. And what you can do is have an array of like a world plus layer, which is a unique array. It's going to be the size of the world. And then it's going to have just like nothing, nothing, nothing. And then like a ship ID, for example. So it might be like 32. So ship ID 32, you know, something like that. And so there's already another layer. It could be a layer which is like specifically an entity layer, which is again width times height of the world it belongs to. But each cell specifically references only an entity, right? And so the different layer types, the different layer types will, size of world, let's go like ship layer type of, I don't know, we'll figure this out as we go. But essentially the layer types can kind of determine what the values inside of that layer are referencing, which asset they're referencing. And it's going to be a contiguous array block. Why do we want a contiguous array block? Or like just one array if possible? Well, as it turns out, if you have one array, just one big array of values, it is very efficient on the CPU. So if we're going to go the route of what we did before, which is absolutely minimal, super blinking fast, just like min-max the hell out of efficiency and speed, then we're going to try and stick to it as closely as possible. So essentially you're going to have one big array, and it's going to, you're going to do something like the first like 0 to, you know, whatever, so let's just say 64 entries are for the ship entities. And then at that point, you're going to go from like 65 onward to, I don't know, like 300, or, you know, is going to be the worlds. And then maybe you continue on for layers, something like that. I don't think that's going to work, but exactly the way I said it. But that's what we're trying to figure out. How are we going to structure this array? And then what you're going to have to do is store offsets. So you're going to have to say like ship entity end maybe would be like 64, and there's your index to the big block, the big array block, and where you're going to know that it ends, right? And so then you can just kind of infer, okay, well then from 0 to 64, we know that that's where all our ship entities are. And then if you have like world offset end, just as an example, it would be like 300. And then, you know, from, okay, so then from 64 to, or 65 to 300. And if you really need to get, if if you really need to kind of like dynamically adjust this, then you would also have ship entity length, right? And it would be whatever, 64, and ship entity start. And that way, what you can do is you can kind of like iterate through your start and length points and figure out where everything is, and you can just like dynamically adjust it. And then you can calculate things like the entire size of your array. So we're going to have to figure that out. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. But if we do it right, it should be blinking fast. It should be pretty damn fast, especially on the browser. Okay, so we're going to start with a few simple things. So one of the things that we want to start with is just like a generic, how are we gonna write our Odin code and then compile it? So typically what happens with WebAssembly is you need to do like weird conversions from bytes or integer values to strings if you want to use strings. So if you go back to a lot of the previous streams that I've done over the few months building this game in Zig, what we did was we kept an individual function that took integers as inputs and returned only a single return value per function for WebAssembly. WebAssembly gets it's very strict in terms of what its inputs are capable of and what its outputs are capable of. For example, you cannot return a struct in WebAssembly. You can't have a function that returns a struct as part of your output. So we've been sticking to just individual values, but we're going to build some basic building blocks in Odin. So we're going to do the package main. And I also, what else I have? I had this up so it can help us. It's not here. Where is it? It's not there. There's a thing I had. To help us out here. Odin examples. Here we go. All right, there we go. There it is. So that's quite zoomed in. So I pulled this up because this is written by Ginger Bale himself. And you can see that there are examples on how to use Odin, just like in general. I've read through this a couple of times, literally just 2 times. There's some stuff in here that I don't quite understand, but there's plenty that I do, because this is quite readable for me, in my opinion. I find this to be very readable and very nice to read. So we're essentially going to use this as a guideline. So I'm kind of copying what's going on here. So okay, let's go back to the code. So we've got a package main, and then we're going to. We probably need this base runtime, I presume. We'll figure this out as we go. I don't think we need anything else. We're not using mem or format or OS or anything like that. I don't think we need anything like that just yet. And then we're gonna do something simple. We're just gonna print out a message, or print out an int value on what do you call it? WebAssembly. Jeez. And I know from having done this on a product I'm building in Odin using WebAssembly, which I'm going to sell. I know you have to do export, and then you have to essentially just it'd be test output, right? And then you'd go whatever that is. I think you can just simply do that. And you could just return a value, and we can just a bool, or you could return a U16 or an I32, whatever it is, right? But sure, let's just go whatever, bool. All right. Now in Odin, it would be let's just call this game Odin. Okay. Doesn't get simpler than that. Kelly J, you can use overview as a reference. Overview. I feel like I should know what that is. But I don't think I do. Overview? What's overview? Odin Lang org. From the docs themselves. Got it. Yes. You know what? That's a good idea. Here. Perfect. That's great. So we'll have a bunch of stuff that's quite helpful. Thank you, Cal. I'll just go with Cal. Sorry, I'll go going with Cal. Okay, cool. So now we have to compile it. And I have to compile it on the Windows side. And I had this problem when I was compiling it on the Windows side. Let me see if I can just copy the shell file, because in WSL I can do it. So if I just do this and I go game and then I go build Odin. Hey Taz, yeah, using Odin. And then I should be able to go over to Odin, and if I run this, there we go. Game.wasm. Nice. Okay, so fortunately I was able to copy my build file. The reason why I'm doing this, it's a weird thing I'm doing. I know. It's because I'm running this. I'm SSHing through WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux for Windows. But I want to build the Windows version and run it. Like I want to use the Windows version of Odin. I could just use the Linux version of Odin, but I also found that the Linux version of Odin is kind of weird to install. It's just really nice to be able to just reference an Odin.exe. That's one thing that Zig has over Odin right now. Zig is super simple to get to run and use in Linux. There's like it's essentially a binary, and you just run it. With Odin, it's not exactly the same thing. So I just defer to doing this. It's easy enough once you figure it out, and then I just have a shell script that can run it. It's weird, I know. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but that's what it is. So we have game WASM. So now if I copy it over to, let's rename, let's go like this. Right, because I didn't tell it what to copy. Okay. And then what we're gonna do is we have to build out some JavaScript code that pulls us in. Now this is pretty much boilerplate, so let me go get the boilerplate code on how to on how to do this. No, that's not it. So if I go okay, is it here? Yeah. Okay. I think this is what I had in my notes here. We'll just go Odin game. Okay. And then we can just like do this and just kind of like view it and make sure that it's all good. Over here. Okay. That so far that does look like it worked, and we do have a test output function, so we're off to the races. Really, for me, I just downloaded, extracted, and then added to my bash RC. It all works. I'm on Debian 12 though. I guess I could. I guess I could do that. When I try and use it, it asks me to install a whole bunch of other packages and libraries in my OS. It's weird. I kind of want to look at it because I do want to figure it out. I would much rather not have to do this weird WSL throughput thing. So I'll figure it out. I'm smart enough. I'll figure it out. I'm smart enough, right? Okay. Yeah, I've got it working. So with test output, what I need to do then is, oh man, come on. What I need to do is I need to take, well, first of all, let's just clean up a couple of things. Number 1, indent using spaces, please. Number 2, convert indentation to spaces, please. Number 3, let's get it a little bit formatted so it doesn't look so terrible. And then over here. All right. Now, in order for us to access this in the console, we essentially have to have a global variable. So we'll just call it WASM. We'll point instance. We'll point instance to WASM, which then means that when I go and reload this, I can just go WASM dot whatever. Yeah, there we go. Now, if I run test, what is it? Yeah, test exports. Sorry, WASM exports test output. It should return. There you go. It's 1. So we already have, not this, so we can get rid of this. We already have a test output. It already returns true. If I change this to false, we can confirm it. We'll just go like this and then like this. And there we go. All right. So that's it. Now, out of curiosity, I actually don't know if you need base runtime. I'm just curious. What would happen? Okay, so there we go. Okay, so you don't actually need base runtime. And I think if you take this out, it actually errors out. Yeah, you need a declaration, a package declaration. So that's fine. And just to be safe, just to be sure, we'll go like that. And there we go. Okay. So that's good. So now what we need to do is we need to essentially set an array that's going to contain everything we want. We can keep it dumb for now. We could just start with a world and forget about the layers and forget about the ships. And just determine kind of like what the world size will be like. I don't really like the term world though, because you're gonna I don't know how to explain this correctly, but essentially it's like okay, let me see if I can come up with a better term. I just don't like the term. So if you look at the game, so when you're traveling like the world, that's one world, right? That's like a map, right? Or a level or something like that. But when you're in a port and you're in town, that's like another world. So I don't know, level? I guess world is fine. I don't know. Map, sure, map might be fine. You know, I probably prefer map. Zone or region. Zone, region. I don't know. We might be agonizing over pedantics here, and it doesn't really matter. Um, man, you know, okay. So here's why I don't like world location. Yeah, okay. I think I kind of I realize what it is. I don't like the term world because it's all encompassing. It's an all encompassing term. So when I think about world, I would think about something like, while I'm in port, even in this game, even in the Super Nintendo game, while I'm in port, there are other captains. Like there's a pirate who runs around the world, the actual world, like the planet Earth in the game. And you don't see them in this port because they're not in this port. But they're active in the world as you're moving around and time passes. They're out here in the world, you know, behind the scenes, so to speak, and, you know, doing things and manipulating things in the world and doing their piracy and, you know, being like Blackbeard the pirate or whatever, right? So I just don't like the term world for rendering a zone or a region. Because I want the world to be what it is. It's like what's happening in the world, which can contain anything. I don't like level, world level and sub levels. I don't like that. I mean, it's a reasonable suggestion. Don't get me wrong. And also, hi, Rook, first time chatter. It's mostly because these aren't actually levels. Like you don't actually have a level that you go through. In like Mega Man or something, you have levels. Right. And so you like complete a level, move on to the next one. And so it's not really a level, you know? A zone in a region actually is starting to like, I'm starting to lean in on that. Map. Map's not bad. Zone region assumes all are equal, I suppose. The only correct answer is map. The only correct answer is map. I don't know. I'm leaning towards zone or region. So even the entire world, if you watch the gameplay of this, I wonder if they have like pictures of it. I don't think they do. But the entire, yeah, here. Let's just open the image in a new tab. You'll see. So what they've done is this is super crappy, but they've taken the entire, this is like the whole world map, and they've sliced it up. So even as you're traveling the planet Earth, you actually have to travel within these zones, right? And so then I guess each port becomes like a subzone of a zone, right? So you literally go to the edge of a zone, and then it would load the next zone that you've reached, right? And that's how you travel across the world or the next region. So let's vote. Yeah, okay. You know what? Let's vote. Sure, why not? I don't use any of my Twitch tools enough. A zone inside a zone. Yeah. Sup, Alavo. I've completely forgotten how to do votes. I've like 100% forgotten how to do. I have no idea how to do votes. Here we go. Here's a poll. New poll. What to name other than world? Zone, region, map, level, a location. We'll just do a minute. There it is. Poll created. I like zone and region as they don't carry any additional meaning or implicit properties. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards too, Taz. Yeah. World, region, east, west, north, south, then zones in regions. Ooh, that's Rook. Yeah. You can see why programmers are so bad at naming. Yeah. And with zone, it's easy to have subzones too. Yeah, the whole region, the idea of a region with zones inside of a region sounds good. I just don't know how that applies necessarily to when you're in a port like here. Because when you're in a port, you're in a zone of a zone. A zone is the winner of the poll. So your ocean will be a zone, and a city will be a zone, and that's confusing, but both are maps, region and port. Okay, so like, I guess here's the thing, is if I'm going to do this, I don't need to slice up the... At least initially, I don't need to slice this up. I don't have to have zones in here. We have enough memory space. This should not take up maybe more than a few kilobytes. Maybe. Like just the entire thing. It's just a like a zone, or and there's or like the world. This would be, I guess, the world, and then you'd have zones within the world in here. So it's really only two things. It's really only the world and the port. So like the Earth and the port. And then all you have is just your sliced up stuff. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Map. That's why it matches both. I mean, map might match both, yeah. Yeah, it might match both. So this is a map. Yeah, and I guess maps could have parents. And a map with layers. You can call ocean a zone and call a port a port. But it would be within a map, right? So it'd be like a port within a map, a zone within a map. You can have layers within a map to indicate different whatever. There's no factions and territories. Yeah, there will be. So even in the original game, you could, for example, go and pledge your loyalty to like the Spaniards, or to the Brits, or whatever. And they have their own sphere of influence based on how you invest in other ports. And how other captains who are automated invest in ports while they're kind of like doing... there's like trade wars, literally. There's investment and trade wars that happen in the game. This game is crazy complex. And so other captains from other countries would try and like out-invest you, and that would increase the sphere of influence for their nation. And you'd have to go and like beat them in the investment wars, or just go pirate them, or whatever it is, right? So I want to do the same thing. I absolutely do. But that can go in a map. I think maybe map is... I think maybe map is the ultimate thing. You're either in the world map or you're in a port map. A world map can have zones, kind of like the sliced up stuff in here, or a port. And then in a port, your map can have like buildings, or things like that. You just need different names for ocean, port, and both. Yeah, so just be a map, because the map would also have topology via layers. Okay, so I'm ignoring the poll. Okay, I know the poll said zone, but only 4 of you voted. What kind of pathetic numbers are that? In data structure, though, is there any reason to sort any different than each other? A region zone map should be nesting in a hierarchy with each node having a type field. What'll happen is, for example, here, this will be a layer. Ports will be a layer. So you'll load up the world map. One layer is the background, the ocean. Another layer is like the green land. Another layer might be some of the trees and stuff like you see here. And then another layer would be actual like port references, like which port is this. So you'd have the asset that renders this, it renders the port here. But let me just do this. So you'd have an asset that renders the port, but then you'd have another layer that determines which port this actually is. And then that would lead off to, well, when I put my ship here and I interact with it, I'm going to go to whatever the value of the port is. And that's going to lead me over to the port here. You know, I'm going to load up whatever this is, right? And then the map changes. It changes to the map according to the port. And then my layers are different now. I'm going to have a background layer, let's say ocean, and then some ground, and then like the default road and some grass, and then the buildings and so on, right? And that'll be, the map will be like layered. It'll just be flattened. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Okay. So we'll kind of go with that. In order to create the beginning. Okay, so first of all, map. Okay, we've decided it's map. You can all go cry about it. Sup, Sneaky? Good to see you, man. It's been a hot minute. We want to do arrays. That's a matrix array, which maybe, I don't think we need to get there just yet. You can have vector arrays. How about over here? Okay, so we can have an yeah, all right. So you know what I'm wondering? Nakor's review bombing the game now. Damn it, Nakor. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Usually just a personal preference that is blown out of proportion. Yeah, I guess it's just I'm trying to hack my brain to make sure that I have the terminology correct so that I don't like lose track of what the terminology would be. Like, it's going to be really confusing for me if I see the word world and my brain immediately goes, oh, that's what's happening everywhere at all times. But it's actually like a portion of the entire game. My brain will just explode. So I have to come up with some kind of terminology that actually that helps me to get through this, right? Now here's a question that I have. So I want to set an initial array size value. Like, in order for us to use a contiguous array block, we're going to need to set a size. We're going to have to essentially just kind of calculate the maximum amount of space we need to be using in order to fill everything up. We can figure that out. But what I want to do is something like some array, and then a size, let's say it's 64, but I want to not, let's do U16 because that's what we're doing. I want to like not fill this in. I don't want to have anything here. I don't even know if this is going to work. Oh, did it work? It didn't blow up. So one way we can test this, I wonder what would be a good way to test this. All right, so let's just play around with this because I want to make sure we get this right. So I don't know what the values are going to be, right? That's my thing. I don't want to be forced into having to do what's being done here, which is like you initialize the values, right? So at least not yet. We are going to fill in these values. We absolutely are, because that's the nature of the game. Or that's the nature of like the performance efficiencies I'm trying to get, which is we're going to know what to put in these up front, and we're going to be adjusting the values accordingly. So at some point we're going to fill it in, but just to start with, I don't want to fill it in. I just want to have an empty array block of a maximum size, and I want to be able to make adjustments to it as we kind of like stumble our way through this. Dynamic arrays are contiguous but might be relocated if resized. Yes, right. And I don't want to have a dynamic array, right? I don't want to do this dynamic one. I want to set, I should know at all times the maximum number of, the maximum array size that I need to run my game. Because this game is just going to be like, it's just going to be stupid simple, whatever it is. So I want to set 64 just because it's 64, but I don't want to set 64 values in here. Right. So it seems like I'm able to do that. And so then what I could do is like set value of some array index. Let's be verbose. And we're going to do value will be U16, and it's going to return, let's just say it returns true or false. So we're just going to assume that it's true. And so we'll go some array. Okay, so right away there's a few problems, right? So we need to do which from 0 to 63, which index, yeah? And then I should be able to do this, and then true, and then I should be able to do something like if index is greater than dot length, I want to say. Let's see. Oh, you wrap the rent. Okay, you wrap it. Got it. You wrap it. We got this, boys. We got this. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay, let me make sure I have my if structure correct. I got to do this. Yeah. There we go. Nope, sorry. So then you're going to return a false. Okay. And then we're going to have an export function. Here, I'll just go like this. Apparently I can't type. It'd be get value of some array index. We're going to go grab the index, and then we're going to return a U16, hopefully. And again, I guess what we could do is copy this and, oh, damn it. Stupid indentation. Listen. Yeah, all right. Return some array index. I'm pretty sure Odin 0 initializes arrays without initial values defined. Okay, well, I mean, even if it's a problem right now, it's not going to be a problem forever because I'm going to be defining what these values are. I'm going to be setting them up. And the absolute worst case is that we set up like an initialization function that zeroes out all the entries in the array. So let's see if this blows up. Damn it. Blew up. Cannot convert false to U16. Oh, I see. Yeah, here. Okay. So this is a thing with WASM. So here's the deal. With Odin, what you do is you can see like the target. Let me just zoom in here. The target in the build is freestanding WASM 32. You can do other types of WASM 32 outputs. I haven't really tried the other ones. I don't really know their differences. This is the one I'm used to working with from Zig days. So the problem here is that you can't mix and match your outputs. WebAssembly goes no bueno. All right, so I cannot return false as a Boolean value when I'm expecting to return a U16 out of the function. It's not going to work. And I can't mix and match my return types. So I can't do like what you might be able to do in Odin right now, which is like the return type could be like anything, or I don't know. Let's see if we can find See if there's a function that will actually do it. It could be a struct even. I can't return a struct. It'll just return nothing. It'll be empty. I tried that. So WebAssembly just goes like, nope. You have to return what you return. This might also be a limitation in some cases. In like here, for example, you can't do this. I think this is like kind of like a error, return error or whatever. And yeah, can't do that. You can do multiple return values. I could define multiple return values, but I can't actually use it. Like I can't do that. And I can't return multiple. I actually can't return multiples. I can't return two values. I can't. The reason is because it's not accessible in the WebAssembly memory. Dell, thank you for the tier 1 sub, man. I appreciate it. How are you doing, Dell? Good to see you. Yeah, it's a limitation of WASM. So here, let's try it out, okay? So what we're gonna do is, let's say, so what would be an appropriate way to return two values out of here? Okay, we're gonna give it a shot. It is a limitation of WASM, and essentially what it comes down to is when you return hey Owen on YouTube, when you return more than one value out of WASM, WASM does not know how to properly handle that, and neither does the JavaScript. It can only return one memory like address value essentially, right? So the problem is that you don't really know where that address is going to be. So like let's try and do this. Okay, let's even see if this compiles, because I bet you the WASM thing will just blow up. Watch, I'm wrong. Watch, I'm wrong. Watch, I'm wrong. But on Zig, it never worked, I swear. All right, so let's set some value of array index. No, we don't even need to do that. Get value. What happens? Yeah, it's undefined. It doesn't know how to deal with it. There's nothing. So you can return it, but there's nothing there. Right, it's not defined. Now, if I set this to just a single value, you'll see that it returns exactly. Yeah, it returns exactly the value. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. So then we have a problem, because if you can only return a single value, like I can't even do let's say bool, right? And then false. Yeah, it's just undefined. Right? So it's going to hit nothing. And then, so here's what's going on under the hood, okay? When I call this function on JavaScript, it's calling something inside of its memory. So something in here is being called. WebAssembly goes, I'm going to go and execute stuff, whatever would normally be executed here. And then I'm going to go and then I'm going to return stuff. But the issue is that the communication layer between Odin and JavaScript functions by nature as a single address value system. So technically, these two values live on two different addresses. They don't share the same address space in memory. So the only other way you can do it is if you pass along the memory address as like a pointer out of Odin into JavaScript. And then JavaScript can go, what's at this address and what's at this other address, and therefore these are my two values. I don't even know if I can do that. build, let's see, I think pointer, you'd have to return a pointer. Reference through pointer, and I think it's that triangle thing up. Let's just see if we can return a pointer, because I think if you return a pointer, it returns a pointer to JavaScript of the memory. Yeah, here we go. It's just this. Yeah. So if we just went like, yeah, exactly, Laugh. If you just do that, let's just say you did that. Okay, this won't work either. I guess, do I need to change anything up here? Maybe. I don't remember what the return type would have to be on this. It would maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I got to reference it and then return the pointer to it. Yeah, so you can't even do that. You can't do that. So you'd literally have to do this. Return I don't know, like a variable that's like weirdness. Yeah. And then it'd be like 12, and then you'd have to return weirdness. You know, like something like that. Like now we're starting to get into like really weird territory. It just becomes very strange. Anyways, so we had this problem as well with Zig. It's a limitation of WebAssembly. Hey, Ghost Speedrunner on YouTube, how are you doing? Yeah, Ray, sorry I missed you on YouTube there. I'm using WSL. It's just because I'm contractually obligated to use Windows. And WSL gives me the side-by-side Linux environment that I don't have to run it as like a real virtualization. It's basically the real thing. I can throw an exception. I could do something like if index greater than length of some array. Yeah, I could do a panic, and then I can return some array index like that, right? And then I would just do U16. So our issue is that WebAssembly is only dealing with single address values in the memory space. That's it. And when you're trying to return multiple values or structs, WebAssembly is just like, I don't know what this memory space is. It's like it's two memory spaces in one, so it's not going to work for me. So it bails out. So we're going to set the value. Let's just go like this. And then we're going to get the value, but we're going to try and make it panic. And it panics. And you can see that it's a panic. Yeah, I can't return false. Yeah, because of WebAssembly, right? And so like I can't. So on top of not being able to return multi memory space address values, so to speak, out of WebAssembly through Odin into JavaScript, I also cannot return one or the other type of value. So like it has to be one return type. It can't be a U16 or a bool. Does that make sense? It has to be one or the other. I can't do both. I don't think I can. No, I mean, I could try a bool or a union. So I would be like, could I just do U16 bool? I don't know if I'm doing this right. Yeah, I don't think this is right. How the heck do you do a union return? You got to pre-declare the union? Oh, I see. I see. So it'd be something like this. I mean, let's try. Let's try. U16. So can I return? Would it be like this, or do you have to initialize it as well? Could I just return like V? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We're gonna figure it out. V can't, but what about value? Can that be used? Okay. All right, let's see what happens. So we're just gonna set a, undefined. So again, it will not. It does not know how to reference the union space. Okay, Twitch ads. We'll let the Twitch ads go, and then I'll keep going. I didn't change the body. Just set up the union in the function body. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm actually not sure what you mean. I'm having skill issues. I think you need to declare a variable of type value and then set it and then return it. No, I tried that. If I do this, I tried that when the ads weren't playing. It's like that. Sorry. Can't do it. In the get value proc, set the return value to either false or the array element. Are you talking about like... Are you talking about like that? Oh, I see. Oh, wow. Was I off? Okay, while the ads are playing. Just a sec here. Okay, let's, I'll just kind of like work. Okay, so if I do, so I could just go like, oops. Or be declared but not used. Oh, because I'm not returning it. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm gonna clean this up, but the ads are almost done. Let me just see if this worked, and then I'll explain what happened. It's still undefined though. It's still undefined. Okay, so Twitch ads are done. So what we tried to do is Twitch viewers are being very helpful. So what I was encouraged to do was to put the value of this variable v as the return and then just return v. So so that the idea would be that whichever one of these unions the v variable ended up being as should be what is output there. And then when I did try that, you can see I should have got like a false, a 0, but instead I get undefined. So that in particular didn't work. Get rid of the v value line between the proc and union. No. Doesn't work. Like I said, I don't think this will work because WebAssembly does not know how to reference the memory address of the return value of this. It's not capable of determining, like, oh, you've returned to me a value that exists in some memory address space that I can give you as a direct thing. Does it return a U16 if you give it a valid argument? So if I set the value of some array index at index 1 to a value of 2, okay, and then I go to get index 1, it doesn't give me anything. Now, just to prove that it's working as we expect, we're going to go like this. We're just going to prove it out. Okay, I'm going to set 1, and there it is. So again, I think the issue here is that even with a union, there is no memory address that WebAssembly can just return to JavaScript and go, here's your value. It's just not capable of doing that. So you have to be overly explicit. It can only be one type of value, and it can only ever return that type of value. And it's not just the union, it's anything else. It should be copying the value itself to the return. I mean, the only other thing I could think of maybe is if you like explicitly defined, like you could do a bool here, and then you could do a U16 here, maybe. And then you're just like, I don't even know if that would work. Cannot cast V as bool, yeah. With this, what you could do is you could return as, I guess you could just return v.bool. Like, I'm just wondering if we are very explicit, will it work? Wait, no, sorry. Like that. Let's see. So first we'll set a value, then we'll try and get the value. It's undefined. And then I'll try and go out of bounds. Undefined. So it's still not. Can I export the value definition? I'm not sure what that means. So if what you're talking about is exporting the definition of what this union is, now we're talking about enums. I would go enums then. Because in enum, you can set it to be a consistent type of value output. So if we go look at enums here, these will, like, you can set it to be like a U16 or you know, whatever you want, and it'll be a value of that type consistently. And then I could just return an enum. I don't have to have a union. And what's more, even if I defined if I exported the union, it still does not give me variability in my return type. I'm still stuck with only being able to return one type of thing out of this function and one value. So at that point, why not just use an enum? If you want to name the return the return values that you want to do, why not just use an enum? Because you're limited to one return type and one return value. Why even use? Can WASM redestruct? No, it cannot. Yeah, so here's what happens with mscripting. Okay, so this is why I have been doing the streams that I've been doing, the past 5 streams, where I'm going over why the industry is in bad shape. Because a thing like mscripting, hides a lot of stuff from you. So you know what mscripten does? And a lot of these other WASM compilers do this for you. They obscure this away from you. And what they'll do is they'll add helper functions to the backend code that generates the WASM and the JavaScript code. It's essentially glue. They create glue functions. And so what they'll do is you can actually read a struct if you know how. So in Zig, for example, what you would do is you'd have here. Let me just do it here. Okay, so you'd have two functions, right, to do a struct, and this is literally how mscripten does it with a glue. So you'll go give me struct pointer. Okay, and so then your proc would be whatever, and your output would be like a pointer to like some memory address, and then you'd return struct I made. Okay, and so there you have your pointer. That's going to give you the memory address in WASM memory space. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have some glue function that does give me struct length. And then it's going to be like whatever, I32 or something, right? And it would be length of struct I made in general terms. And so what you'll do in the JavaScript side is you'll go WASM dot whatever the heck it is, exports, whatever it is, and then you're going to go give me struct pointer, okay? And then you're going to call the same thing, give me struct length. But what you're going to do is you're going to do it within the memory space. I'll show you right here. WASM exports memory. And so you're going to start like this. You're going to go give me struct pointer, okay, is going to return the initial address value. And then you're going to like essentially grab to the end of the array, which is give me struct length. And then you're going to wrap it in a data view, which is going to convert it to like I32 or whatever the values are of the individual pieces of your struct. That's all glue that's done for you. And because we're not doing the glue, we're running into the issue of what happens when you don't have that glue? What happens when you don't understand what's really going on with WebAssembly under the hood? We don't have the glue, and I don't want to use the glue. I don't want to have like a glue, like, you know, a bunch of glue in between that does that, right? So we're eventually going to have to get to the point where we do need to do this, where we have to return a pointer to a memory address space within WASM memory, and then the length that determines the pointer is the starting point. The length is starting point plus end point, and then that determines the entire struct. And then from there, your JavaScript just like takes that memory block and converts it into I32 strings, whatever it is. It does the manipulation, and then you get your struct out of it. That's all glue to make that happen. Odin macros to generate glue, comp type stuff. I don't think we need it. So you're trying to do this without the runtime library Odin has to make all the language features work? Yeah, you can't even use the runtime library. Like it's when you compile the runtime library to WebAssembly, it doesn't work because WASM is too limited. It's assembly style features which are extremely limited. It's really just pointers to memory space. So that's why they have. Oh man, come on. That's why they have this. When you pop this open, you can literally you can even see like there's a value 2 here, right? So I wonder what happens if I set 3. I don't know if it changed it correctly, but yeah. So we can demonstrate, but that's essentially what you have to do is you have to go look at the memory block, and then you have to point to a location in memory, and then you have to say what's the total length of the memory I want to get as like some form of structure, and that's your memory. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Odin has some extra stuff for the WASM build, like a lib or something. I have not read any such thing. No? Odin WASM runtime lib? Yeah, that's cool. But this is not Odin, right? This is somebody else who created some stuff. Well, I mean, we can look to see what they did, though. Assets, OBJ. So where's the Odin code? Memory.js. Yeah, so I don't think they have anything special in here either. env, package, WASM, Odin env. Yeah, I don't think they have anything. Odin dev vendor. Okay, let's go have a look. Let's see. Dev, no. Vendor WASM? I don't think it's going to be in here, is it? Oh, maybe it is going to be in here. Vendor WASM JS runtime. Oh, on the local file system? Hang on. Hang on. Kelly might have the right thing here. Yeah, it'd be this. It's okay. So that's when you're using JS WASM, right? So okay. So yeah, they have general memory JS runtime. Yeah, it'd be this thing. Yeah. And so this is, yeah, so here, this is exactly right. They have glue, and you can see that they're actually doing exactly what I just said. Look, right? They're going into the memory buffer. They have a pointer and they have a length. That's how WASM works. This is all just glue. It's all glue. Exactly what I just said. So this is mscripting, but in Odin style. It's all glue. You go into the memory buffer. You start with an address, you give it a length. And then out of that, you return whatever it is. So here they have a text encoder. Here they do, you know, conversions to whatever int values that you want, etc., etc., etc. It's all glue. I don't want glue. I want straight up simple stuff. As simple as possible. I don't want to pull this whole thing to do it. And what's more, we don't even need this whole thing to do it anyways. Because if we know what values we're going to store in this game, which, I mean, they're not going to exceed 65,000 on any given array index. So U16 is like, you know, the magic number. Then the only glue we might need is if we decide to use structs and we want to point it to a struct of U16 array, and we're not even there yet. So I don't need all this glue, right? But that's exactly what this is. Go into the memory, start with an address value, get the pass in the length of whatever it is you're looking for as the second value, and then convert it to whatever you're going to convert it to. You'll just need to write your code in a very particular way to work within the confines of WASM. Yes, which is what we did with the Zig stuff. We used no glue. It was all just only what you needed to run the thing that needed to be run. And it was all uint 16 arrays. And we had like just one function like this. That was our glue. It was one of these functions where you could pass in a pointer and a length and it would just return to you exactly that. Now, if you have that, then what you have to do, even with this, what you still have to do is you have to chain whatever you have to chain two other functions to this one. So what you have to do is go, if you're going to get, let's see, if you're going to get give me struct, right? The JavaScript, your JavaScript code has to understand that there isn't one single function to get give me struct. You have to call two functions and really three and chain them. So you'd have to call pointer first, and then you'd set your pointer variable here to that, to whatever that returns. And then you'd have to call the length function next, and then you'd set the length JavaScript variable to whatever that is. And then to follow up with, as like the last thing, you'd have to call your load bytes and return a uint whatever array as the return. And there you go, right? So just to get a struct, You'd have to have at least 3 functions to return that. And then you add strings to that and it adds more. And it gets weird and I don't like it. I'm trying to keep it dead simple. And we're learning, like a lot of people didn't know about this glue, right? So now you know how to write the glue, and now you know why the glue exists, and now you know why some of these tools give you this glue, because it abstracts away the need for you to even understand why this works the way it does. Okay. So now we have a different problem. Now the different problem is the following. Let's put this back to now what essentially what we've discovered. What do we do here? Okay. That's going to be fine here. Our return value could be, let's say, if we do 0, that's technically a U16. Yeah, everything's great. Here's the problem. What if the array value of this is also 0 and it's a legitimate value? And we ran into this on the Zig portion of it as well. What happens? We're so limited. How do we determine when the value that we return is illegitimate? And one way to do that is to have like a const of whatever here. Hey Proton, subscribe for 8 months. Holy crap, man. Hey Proton, how are you doing, bud? Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Resubscribing for 9 months at tier 1. That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you, Proton. Good to see you. So you could have a const up here. I can't remember if there are consts in Odin. Let me just double check. Yeah, I don't really think there are, is there? I guess it would just all be capitals or something. I don't know. I don't really see a const here in Odin. Constant declarations. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, hang on. I better read this properly. Constants are entity symbols which have an assigned value. The constant value cannot be changed. The constant's value must be able to be evaluated at compile time. So constant x has the untyped string value what, and they can be explicitly typed. All right, and you can do computations. Okay. Yeah, I've come to the Odin side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you could have a const. Okay, so here's something you could do. You could go error, and then whatever the max of U16 would be, right? I'm not 100% sure how we're gonna get this yet. But then, so then what you could do is you could just always go return error, right? And then what you'd have to do is something like if value, I keep putting the brackets, if value equals error, right? No, this would be bad. And then what? And then you'd have to return another error, right? What error would that be? So essentially what you're trying to do here is reserve the value. So you cannot use max U16. It's a reserved value in the array block, which means none of the values in this array block can be set to whatever the error is. That way you know that if you ever see max U16 returned as a value out of any of your functions, then you've hit a reserved thing, and you probably should treat it as an error, right? This starts to get weird. I'm not even entirely sure how you'd get max 16 out of it, but it becomes strange, and especially when you have something like this, where what if you try to set the value, right, and then you return a false? I mean, I guess by nature of receiving a false, it means whatever. But I think what gets a little bit less weird is if you had a few constants, right? So it would be exceeded length, and then you'd have like max U16 -1, right? And so then you'd start reserving things. And so then instead of returning a Boolean here, you would just return like one of these, and then you'd go exceeded length, you know, and then you'd have to go like or exceeded length, right? And then you'd start doing that, whatever it is. So it starts becoming, you know, definitely a bit weird, but you can start, like, you can even start thinking about like, okay, well then we could have a function. We could have like an internal function that checks the value that we're about to return. And here we can even return error, or like return reserved value, right? Reserved value. Okay. So that's one way, right? That's one way you could start dealing with that. And then you could have like an internal function that's not exported. And then you could go like check return value, proc value, U16, right? And then it'd be like whatever U16, and then you go like if value equals blah 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 blah, right? And then off you go, etc etc etc. Return reserve value, you know, whatever it is, right? So you could start building it that way. But at this point, I'm wondering, why don't we do what we did in Zig and have an enum? Because at this point, you could have an enum. And maybe with an enum, I think with an enum, you can set the values of the enum fields. Yes. And so then why couldn't you do max U16 minus whatever? And so then all you'd have to do is have an enum that's like errors. I don't know. I'm just doing anything here. And an error would be, again, it'd be like max U16 and so on and so forth, right? And so then what you would have to do on top of that, I'm thinking out loud here, is then you would also have to ensure that the maximum, no, your arrays would be the same. No, your arrays would be the same. Yeah, okay. You'd have to ensure that every time that you set a value on anything, it did not take up like one of these reserved things. So as a matter of fact, you might even want to call this like reserved, you know, like a reserved enum, or I don't know, something like that, right? Where you're setting in values that have a reserved address space in the U16, and any value that you try and set on any one of these needs to go through a checker function first. And it's just an internal checker function. And if it matches one of these reserved things, then it's going to return to you a specific U16 value. And then on the JavaScript side, you check it and go, this isn't going to work. Okay, chat. The only thing I can think of really solving this is manually checking the array length before you get value of. Okay, so Laugh, we kind of ended up in the same place. Enum for errors, yeah. Let him cook, thank you. If it's all single threaded, could you have global variable which is flipped on error, C style? Yes. Yeah, okay, so that might be another way to do it. Okay, Dell, you gave me an idea. So here's another way you could do it. You could store an array of errors as like messages. Yeah. Check last error, right. And then you could do like max 100, right? And then when you hit an error, you would just always return error. So it's always just this. Yeah? So we take this out. Let's just like kind of like pseudocode it. So you just always return error, right? And that's it. But here what you would do, you could even simplify this a little bit. You could go have error, you know, something stupid like that, and it would be like poo poo. You know, I don't know, something. have error proc, and then your message, sure, and then it would just like append message to error array, right? And then it would return error. And as a matter of fact, you might not even actually need that. What you could, the issue with strings is when you go on the Java, remember all this glue that I decided we're going to avoid so that we don't have to do string weirdness. To avoid having to actually read the strings of the error, you just return integer values. So then you can go back to having an error enum with different error values, right? So it'd be like this. Okay, so whatever that is. And then you'd go like this. Right? I think Odin infers like Zig does. And then exactly right. It's get check last error. So you'd have like check last error. U16. And then would like return last. It would return what? It would return like error array length error rate, like something like that, right? And then you could, make sure that the error list length is always there. Yeah, and then the other thing you could do is anytime that you do that, automatically remove this error from the array. You could have like an exported function. I guess this would be an exported function as well, which would be clear error log. And it'd just be a bool, and then you just like reinitialize maybe the array, and then just return true. You could have an export function that did something like check error log by index, like that, and then it would literally return error array index, and then you do the same thing, like if index greater than length of error array. imagine causing an error by checking for errors. Could you imagine? Exceeded length. You'd be in a never-ending loop. Right? So you could do that if you wanted to see a specific one, right? Or you could just iterate over check last error and it would just automatically pop it. That probably feels better, right? That's probably a better solution if we're gonna stick with like the limitations that we're kind of going with here, where we're not gonna have a bunch of glue code. We're gonna have only what we need. You're just gonna have a bunch of integers that represent different error values of different kinds. You can always go look at the Odin source code that generated the WASM to see what the error value means. We could figure out a way to export this. We did it with comp time stuff on Zig. I'm sure Odin has a way where you can extract the enum as like a JavaScript object, and then that way you could just map integers to like a string value or something like that, so that every time you build the Odin code, it just like it does it for you. Which is kind of, now we're starting to get into the glue code, just in a different portion of the code. But this is starting to feel better. If get last error returns non-zero, we have an error. So it gives you idea of latest error instead. Might be worth your time to ask the Odin Discord about this, finding it hard to believe WASM has this limitation. I mean, this happened with Zig as well, and C. And the glue code that you see in here, it essentially has this like the same thing. So where's record error? Errors are recorded within the JavaScript context in this case. I don't think that they have errors recorded inside of Odin or WASM. I don't think so. So the reason why they get around this when using tools like this with glue code is because you can just return a string. Well, Odin errors are just spools. There's no exceptions. Sure, yeah, that's fair. But when you have this glue code, you can just use a string. That's the thing, right? Excuse me. As soon as you start including the glue that comes with like mscripten or Odin, I think Zig has some glue code that you can pull, not from the source, but there are some glue things that you can grab. Then you stop needing to have this, and you can just return strings. And if you can return strings, in a way, it simplifies some of this process. Because then you can kind of simplify the functions as well. Because then with the functions, you don't need to do what we're doing here. You don't need to have, weird like functions that return only one thing for the express purpose of returning only one thing. Not all the time. You can start building like more complicated things where the JavaScript already knows how to reach in and get address data, right? And the glue code that comes with, let me go back, events general. Memory all targets, memory JS Odin. Page allocator. I think Odin does a way that you can events all target, where it will just return to you the pointer and the length by default, and it just reads it properly. I think there's some glue code that makes all that happen. I could be wrong. I just want to have a look and see. Get element, blah blah blah, link name. There's a rect, get bounding client rect. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's the other thing. Right. They don't even have to worry about it. You know why? Because they're actually reaching into JS. That's why. So there is a way with WebAssembly that you can make WebAssembly call JS functions. And as soon as you can do that, then the world opens up quite a bit. And we're not doing that. That's more glue. You essentially what you have to do is expose JavaScript functions into WebAssembly, allocate memory space for those functions to exist in WebAssembly, then have WebAssembly execute those functions by calling that memory space, which is shared by JavaScript. Then you essentially are able to call JavaScript. So it's bidirectional. So this is how they get around it. We're super, we don't even have, there's no way we're calling JavaScript. And one of the reasons why I don't want to be calling JavaScript is because then I have to add a whole bunch of glue code and glue functions that are now specific to the JavaScript world. And I might want to just take this code exactly like we did with Zig and run it somewhere else that's non-JavaScript based, where these functions would then have to stay the same. I'd have to rip out all the JavaScript based functions. And then I'm going to make decisions because I have the nicety of calling JavaScript or having like alternative methods of creating this, where I might find myself like realizing, crap, I should have just stuck with like the standardized way of using WebAssembly because it is the most cross compatible. You should be adding layers on top of this is kind of like the concept here, instead of just including a layer by default. And JavaScript bidirectionality is a layer by default. So if we just assume no glue code, unless we create it ourselves, and we just assume no bidirectional communication out to JavaScript, then we're kind of stuck with doing like this. What was wrong with panic exceeded length? It returned undefined. Right. I created a bunch of code and it didn't finish it. Let me just see if there's... how would I get max U16 out of this? Just got to be like a max thing, right? There should be. Let me go over to here. Is there a max? No? How would I get max? Max? Yeah, max, right? Can I just do max U16? Now, I'm not sure. Hang on, I gotta check a message. Okay. What am I doing wrong here? Is it this? Oh, right. That's what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. And then have error. The message would be sure, yeah, it'd be U16. Return U16. We're starting to get weird. Can I assign max U16 to type U16 to error? Really? Maybe we're off. Yeah, Ghost, maybe we're off by one. No, it doesn't make a difference, does it? Maybe if we wrap it? No. Oh, I see, okay. So what am I doing wrong with this enum? Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah. I want to like declare the values of the enum. I know it's here somewhere. It should be like this, right? It should be like that. Is it the naming convention? No. Okay, so what if we did... I'm just trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Let's just go here, and then we're going to go max U16. Can we just assign just directly? Let's just do this. $16. No. It must be a constant. So I guess we can't like comp time the value of this, can we? Not comp time, but like that doesn't seem right. I feel like I'm having a skill issue. I feel like there should be a way to do that. Set max 16 of an enum to whatever the heck ever. No, Odin has multiple returns, so the idiom is to return value int. Okay, bool. Yeah. Something just... Okay, what about this? Oh, that did work. Okay. I guess you have to be explicit about the type. Yeah, it's not erroring out about that anymore. Okay. Okay, so we'll fix that up. Let's just go back to what we had before. And it's going to be U16. And I guess you don't need this. And this will be like whatever. Check the return value, otherwise return what, 0? Can add a sign of type error to U16. Do you need to wrap that in a U16? I would assume that Odin would return the actual... Yeah, you have to. I don't know. Sure, let's set... we're gonna have to do some digging around on this, because some of this stuff just does not add up. Okay, so length error arrays out of bounds got 100 on 42. Of course, it should be -1. And then exceeded length would be... This is what we were trying to test. What happens when you panic. So we'll leave that in there. And is that it? Okay, yeah, you can't return a panic, of course. So I think we're down to just this. We'll just do like error. We'll just do that. Statements after a diverging procedure call are never executed. Yeah. So I guess you can't do a panic and a return directly after each other? Yeah. Because the panic happens before the return, yeah. So you can't even truly do a panic, right? Yeah, it ends the execution. So you have to... You can't do this. You have to put it into the error log. You'd have to go have error dot exceeded length. Yeah, it's got to be U16. Yeah, that worked. Panic but you would continue execution if exceeded length. Yeah, you would. The issue is that Odin, when compiling, will go through the different chains of a function and determine if there is an issue with that chain should you hit that chain. And so the idea is that the compiler is supposed to tell you about issues before you hit them. And so if the compiler sees that were you to exceed the length, you would be using a panic that did not that ended the execution before a return, then it's going to tell you that, right? Hey, Prime on YouTube, how are you doing? Try assert, sure. Hang on, let me just read up on assert real quick. I just want to make sure I... So is it literally just assert, which is that equals that? Assert that equals that. Would it end the execution? I don't think so. Yeah. So if you went assert, oh man, I keep saying asset. Assert and then what? What would be the assertion here? Just assert itself? Is that what we're doing? What was the function here? Check error log by index. Check error log by index. Doesn't really do anything. Assert false and end execution because there's something wrong with your math. Maybe. Assert false equals false. I don't know. It returns error, I guess. The assertion doesn't really do anything. What's wrong with my code? Is it just like all the stuff that I've done that like we need to do stuff? Is that it? It would be wrong if you could go over array length. Depends if you do that or not. Yeah. But that's why we check it, right? Like, because what if somebody does have code, they write code for the front end like me, and I check the maximum array length is 100 because that's the number of errors I store, and I just, for whatever reason, maybe I've set like a dynamic index value and it's 200. Yes, we check it, but this code is wrong if he hits it, so no reason to run it. I really think checking length before calling is the simplest way. Checking the length before calling, like doing it on the JavaScript side. I'm not sure I follow you guys. Like you're saying this here doesn't need to be there. I can just go on the JavaScript side and go, what is error array length? Like that? Nah, I'm not into that. No, I do not want to have somebody external of this be responsible, even myself, be responsible for checking the array length. And what's going to happen is that even if we fix it for this particular function, we're going to have much more complicated functions down the road where we do absolutely need to be checking internally within the function, whether you're within the bounds and scope of what you're trying to do. And there's no way that down that line, I'm going to be trusting somebody writing JavaScript, including myself, to check those things before they get through. I want as much internal checks as possible. Does the built-in bounds checking not apply to WASM? I don't think WASM does anything. That's the thing. I just don't think WASM does anything. But if you're outside scope, then no need to process that on the JS side. JS code is wrong. Yes, but the problem is that if you're outside scope, here, let's see what happens if you have no checks. That's what happens. So when there's no checks, you don't check the JavaScript side, and you don't check the WASM Odin side, it literally blows up. Yeah. Okay, now what if you're going to run this WebAssembly file and you're going to run it in something that doesn't have this kind of error blow up? What if it just what if just the thing you're running it on just returns whatever, like false or something? It's not a blow up. You're doing it on, I don't know, you're doing it in C or something. You've got a desktop GUI. You're doing it in Qt Creator, and you're using the WebAssembly thing. And for whatever reason, it doesn't blow up like this. Right, which is why... Right, then I need some error. Right, which is why I'm trying to think ahead of that and go, well, at some point I'm going to want it. And if I'm going to have to build it anyways, why not just build it now? Because then I don't have to worry about these kinds of errors on the JavaScript side. I can consistently, I can make this consistent. That's what I'm trying to get to here. If I have the error reporting stuff here, where the WASM stuff internally checks itself for errors, I can provide a consistent way for anybody that uses this WebAssembly to check for what error happened within the WebAssembly file. And it doesn't matter what system you're using to actually run the WebAssembly file, or whether your system is going to blow up like this, which is good, or it's going to blow up some other way, or just not blow up at all. Right? Then it's like, well, then I actually don't have to worry about you. I don't care about that, because I've given you a consistent method that works no matter where you use the WebAssembly file. If you see this value, it means that there is an error. If there is an error, you can use this function to see what the error code was. If you get this error code, it means that that's what WASM thinks the error is. And it's consistent. It's a consistent way to do it every single time, every compilation of this version of this WASM file, no matter where it's used. It's just a consistent way to get the errors. And then what's more is this might have a bounds check error, and the person who is seeing this might not know why there's a bounds check error. They might be looking at this, and there might be like this function could be very complicated, and there might be a series of errors that happen here. And depending on the error they see here and the message that JavaScript or the V8 engine or the browser or the Qt Creator or whatever it is they're using, whatever error message it decides to tell them, they might not understand why something has failed. If I do it in here, I get to have some consistency, and also I get to determine what error message I want to tell you about that I feel is important to you. And then if I just give you a list of error codes, you always know if you see that error, that's what this means, right? So I can do a lot of hand holding within here for you, and it also serves as an internal check anyways. And then I don't have to worry about you. And by you, I mean me. So I think... Yeah. And so right away I know this is max U16, and that's just error. Right? It's just error. And so that's an error code that I can then I could pass on in like a README doc or whatever, right? If you see 65535, you've hit an error. You should never see 65535 returned to you as a value out of a function that you use. Otherwise, you've gone somewhere, it's gone wrong somewhere. Unless you're talking about like a memory address or like the length of something because you're trying to get like a block of memory out of WASM. Then you might see 65535. But aside from that, this is a reserved error message. And so are these. You should never see these. If you do, there's a code that, assert like there, but the assert doesn't do anything. That's the problem. The assert doesn't do anything. Yeah, Twitch ads are going to play in a minute. If I do this, if I do exactly what you're... Okay, let's just see. Doesn't say anything. Twitch ads. Prime on YouTube, I taught myself. I just went on the internet and read tutorials and tried building games. That's how I started. Tried building my own software when I was a kid and just failed a lot. Just tons and tons of failures. I still fail to this day, constantly, all the time, as you can see. It's just practice, tons and tons of practice. So yeah, the assert doesn't do anything. Yeah, there's nothing here. Nothing here. So I'm pretty much sold on the way that we did it with Zig and the way that we've discussed so far. Is to do this. I'll wait for the Twitch ads to be over. I just don't want anybody on the Twitch side to lose out. To lose out on the you know, content. Okay, hang on 1 second, folks. 1 second, 1 second. I gotta check on something here. A union would be nice for a struct. Yeah, I know. I know, right? It would be. I agree. I agree, but such is WASM life. Okay, that I got it. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, how much is left on the ad breaks? 20 seconds. All right. Okay, so essentially when the ads are done, I'm just going to put this back. Yeah, I'll just put this back. Ads are over. Yeah, so we tried doing the assert here. We're hoping the assert would tell us something, but it's not telling us anything. It's still just whatever the default error output is for Chrome and V8, and I don't want to do that. I want to have a consistent set of errors internally. So I guess we're going with that, which I'm okay with. It's weird, like it's definitely a little bit weird because of the limitations of WebAssembly, but you know, it does work, and we just have to make sure that we're careful about how we code this, right? It's just being careful about how you code it. And so we know we have these reserved values. Yeah, so even if you know, error dot reserved value return error dot reserved value. You can't use the reserved value error code, right? I could do a switch statement or whatever it is, but We essentially just have to make sure that we're passing through this function first. Yeah, I complicated this unnecessarily. I did. This would be much simpler with one return statement in a switch case. Anyways, you get the point though. This wasn't meant to be like the code that we're going to go with. This was just meant to like test things out and see what kind of functions we want to have so that we can figure out when things have kind of gone wrong and whatever. So it's fine. We'll clean this up. I can even just put like I don't know, like a to do like switch. Probably a switch is probably the best thing here. We do have to do these. We have to append the message. We have to remove it. We do have to also reinitialize the array. Those are all there, and they're accessible to us internally as well. So that's fine. Yeah, and so then anytime that we return an error in one of these external functions, we would have to go something like this. Just return have error. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So at this point, we have a way to create the kinds of arrays we want. We have a way to give us some semblance of error management to some degree. Remove magic number. We have a way to, we can create enums and we can use them. So we could do something like ship. And it would be like an ID and HP, you know, something like that. And then you could have map. And it would be, sure, an ID as well. Width, height, and then a layer. And it would belong to like a map. Well, it would have its own ID. It would belong to a map ID. It would be of a particular type. And you could even have a type enum for things like background, foreground, I don't know, entities, ports, you know, whatever we wanted, right? This could be an enum of an enum. Okay, and then we'd have to also track our offset. So we'd have to do things like, I wonder, can you get the length of an enum? Is that something you can do? Can you go... I just want to see if you can get like how many in total, how big it, well, let's just try it. Instead of trying to figure it out, let's just see if we can get a length of an enum. Our test output is going to be, we'll take this out, we'll go a U16, and then we'll go a length of, let's do ship. Let's see if this even compiles. Right. I did dumb things here. Right. Just do this. We're going to go fix that later. Okay. So now our test output, it should be 2. It is 2. Awesome. Okay. What that means is that when we're looking at the big block, so this would be like, so this is our game block, right? Let's assume that we only have 64 indices, and like what's going to start happening is that we're going to have to start splitting off our block with offsets, right? So your start ship index would be 0, and then your start ship end would be length of the ship enum, right, times number of ships. So you could go like number of ships, and then we could make like the adjustment here. Number of ships is equal to like 2 or something, right? And so then that way what you can do is you can just take the structure and kind of start like dynamically figuring out where your start points and end points are for your blocks. And you could even put these in functions and whatnot. And so then you know that your ship index and your ship end constitutes the start and end. You could even just call it this, just ship start, ship end. And these are just all part of inside of some array. And then what you can do within that is you can go for a specific ship. You'd go start ship start, and then the ID, as long as the ID is in like proper numerical order, or if you wanted to go by ship index, it would be plus ship index times the length of ship, right? So if it was a 1, then it'd be ship start like 0, and then the end would be 0 or sorry 1, and then it'd be, yeah, so ship start would be 0 plus the ship index of 1 would be 1 times 4, which would be 4. So your array block to get the data for the ship would be between 0 and 3 essentially. So then you could go specific ship start would just be plus, you know, whatever it is, and then specific ship index, ship end. I screwed up the wording on here, but you get the point. You do ship start and then you plus whatever the index is and times the length of the ship. It's just different math thing here. We'll figure it out. But that's kind of the idea. You have to kind of like get the entirety of like where does it start within the big block, and then a specific portion of that block would be a specific ship. And so then you do the same thing. I'm just pseudo coding really quickly here. Start map start would be start ship end plus 1, right, whatever that is, and then you go start map end would just be the length of map and then times number of maps, right? You start building that out. The video thinks, oh, it didn't change. There you go. Sorry about that. I guess the streamer bot didn't automatically pick that up. Usually I check it, but whatever. Whatever. End stream laser focus, yeah. Hey Arvis. Hey Omni. Hey Taz. Yeah, thank you for telling me. I didn't notice. It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. Yeah, so given all this, right? So we're going to have to start figuring out how we're going to pack the array, right? We just kind of have to pick and choose how we're going to do it. And we're going to have to make sure that the size of the array is always has enough room to contain all of the different elements that we want within the array. So we're going to have to tell Odin whatever this is. Ideally, we can just kind of like it'd be nice if we could do something like at the very end it'd be like entire array length, and it would be all of the above totals, right, as like the end point, right? And then you could do like some array in entire array length. That would be pretty nice if we could do that, because then we could just make adjustments to like, well, actually I want like 2 ships or whatever it is. I think the problem potentially with that, if I'm thinking it through, is then we're starting to get into dynamic memory allocation because of things like Well, where are you going to store your ship data or your map data? What are you going to do? Are you going to generate an array block for each ship? So are you literally going to go ship array for each ship is going to be length of ship, right? And then you'd go like 2 and 2, right? And then how are you going to put that into some array, right? That has to go into some array. And now you're talking about carrying memory over. So it's just like now you have memory here allocated for the individual ship, and then you're going to put it into the big block of memory. And I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to make it so that everything stays in the big block of memory. So I probably kind of need to avoid doing this like dynamic entire array length thing. Because like if I'm just going to start doing dynamic array lengths, then I might as well just throw performance with static array lengths out the window, because what the hell's the point? So I should really be setting the values here very specifically. So it would be like my first ship, right? So I'd be like ship ID whatever 2, health points of 2, ship ID 1, health points of 2, and then I would be map 0, and the width would be like 4x4. Then map 1 would be like 5x5, and so on. And so I would literally just do that. And then I'd still have to update this so that I know exactly how many, what my offset is. Like I still have to do that. But at least my memory is initialized and stays in one location ever, period. It's not initialized over at this memory address where the variable ship array is, and then inserted into some array, and then I have to go clean this up. And then at initialization, I essentially have the entire world duplicated. So I'm trying to avoid that. So this is fine. It's annoying, but if I'm going for like trying to max this out, then that's what I'm going to do. So I could even do that. I wonder how far this would let me go. Can I just compile this? Expected 64 values for this array literal got 10. Okay, so can I do, here are the first X values, 0 out the rest? Can I even do that? Let's see. You can infer the length based on this. Oh, could we just infer length? Oh, could we infer length? Interesting. Would it? Yeah, that does work. And because it's static, it's like we've created it on compilation, it would infer the exact array size of this. We could even test this. Let's do test output, and it would be some array. $10. That's right. Hey, that's pretty sweet, Odin. Nice. So then I don't have to worry about the rest. Nor do I need to initialize the entire block. I only just initialize the stuff that I want to initialize. So I could go and just set like an empty ship here, and then like an empty world if I wanted to. Yep. Okay. That's much better. So at this point, I guess I'm ready to start doing some more complicated things where we start doing offsets. We got to figure out the offset math of how we get specific things. So we've kind of solved this stuff. We're just trying to solve this stuff. So yeah, we would have number of ships as 2. We would definitely be starting at 0. Your end would definitely be whatever that is times number of ships. That I think is an accurate start. So you'd start with, you'd assume that and do that. Right. I have to keep forgetting. Yeah. So you'd start at the starting point. You take ship, which would be times 2, and then plus number of ships, which would be 4, and so you'd be at 0 through 4. And if you did that, then anything between I guess 0 and 3. I guess you could do -1 here just to be exact. Because that's going to be an off by 1 thing. Hey Owen, good to see you, man. You made more progress on your personal site? Nice. Nice. Good job. Good job, Owen. Keep it up. Okay, then for a specific ship, you'd go get specific ship. Let's just see what the function would be like. It'd be ship ID. We'll just return whatever. So then ship ID would be off by 1 as well. Does it need to be? No, it doesn't. You could just say 0. Nah, you know what? We're going to reserve 0 for empty. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, so if ship ID 0, then it's I don't know, just some general error. It would be, let's say, empty ID. There you go. And then let's just return true. And then you do an offset here. So offset would be like start ship start plus your ship ID times the length of the enum. So like if it was ship ID 1, then it'd be 1 times 4, so 4, and that's probably all you need. And then you just return like the slice or something like that. Just return slice or something along those lines. Didn't realize you were streaming also. Odin 90s. Shit. How are you liking it? I love it. It's even simpler than Zig. It's way simpler than Zig. If you hang on, I'll pull up where is it? Here it is. If you pull up like the code, like the overview or the example of how it's used, it's so dead simple. It's crazy. It's even more readable. I find the syntax is way nicer than Zig. And a lot of the choices that they've made for the language, it edges out Zig, in my opinion. It edges out Zig. Zig is still good, but I like this just a bit more. I like this just a bit more. It's very nice to work with. And for WebAssembly stuff, it's even better. Yeah, and because I do love Zig. But I think this wins out Zig. And that's tough. That's a tough thing to do, right? And it took me a while to consider this. Like I've been back and forth on whether I should switch to this or not, but I'm glad I did. And the product that you and I have been talking about, I redid it in Odin from Zig, and I did it like way faster. There's just something about Odin that makes working with it, like the flow state for working with it, so dead simple, but you still get all the power of like all your memory allocations or, having that like memory management. You get structs and unions and all that stuff. Does it win out over C? In my opinion, yes, it wins out over C. I would much rather be using Odin than C. And I still like my C. Hey, Hassan on X. How you doing, man? Odin for the win, yeah. So, yeah. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I've liked it a lot. And then the other thing that it comes with, if you're going to use Odin like kind of in full, not in this WebAssembly limited space that I'm using it in, there's a lot of limitations. It comes with, let's see what it's in the built. I think it's in the built-in runtime. Can't remember where it is now. Core library. Here we go. So it'll come with a whole bunch of stuff that's like essentially based on like what you'd see in C typically, right? But then it comes with a bunch of other stuff. Like you have libc, for example. I'd try and jump in if you didn't have my entire engine written in C. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. You have a whole bunch of stuff in libc here. You have compression. You have you can have there's bit array, which I was looking into. I was looking into priority queue, which seems really cool, and like the other queue system. They have got crypto in it. They have some debug stuff. They've got encoding like base 32, base 64, endian, JSON. It's built in. This is core stuff. Okay, this is core stuff. It's core. It's core. They've got image stuff, hash. They've got IO. They've got They've got logging stuff somewhere here. Yeah, they've got some math stuff. They've got your memory management stuff, AST, doc format, parser, tokenizer. So I want to use the AST, for example, because I want to go and export my enums automatically as part of the build process, so that it is exported out to like a JavaScript class. And I just use AST to like determine like what things are there. Like I'm going to be using that. I know Zig has AST as well. And I did it there. Reflective, they've got SIMD built in, slice, decimal, sys, Darwin, Valgrind, POSIX, Windows. They've got text editing, etc., thread, Unicode, time, date time, all it's crazy what they have in here. And then if we go back to the vendors. So with the vendors, you have things like OpenGL, Raylib, SDL2, STB, Vulkan. Here you go. Here you go, Travis. Hey, Followaway, how you doing? Odin is easily my favorite language of the C-like replacement. Super good math lib. Instead of comp time, like compile time string hashing, it's not. I don't think it's like Taz. I don't think it's like the Zig comp time, but there's some Vulkan here. There's some Vulkan. It's all in there. Yeah, Vulkan and Raylib in core. Yeah, there's no comp time thing here. Yeah. What makes it better than Zig? I find the syntax is easier to read. It's a simpler. It's simpler code to write to get the same kind of power that you get with like a more verbose syntax in Odin, or sorry, in Zig. I also, there's some quirky things that I didn't really like about Zig, which is not really like a huge knock on it. But for example, if you have unused variables, Zig really likes to freak out about that. And it's kind of, it's okay. Like, it's not really the end of the world. It's fine. And in some ways I might even prefer that. But then there's also some other things like, I'll put it this way. Ginger Bill, the creator, he doesn't let himself get pushed around by what other people want. I'll put it this way. He has a vision and he wants to stick to that vision. And it seems like he's quite willing to just tell people, no, that's stupid. And I don't want to do it. Exactly, Travis. That's a good thing in my opinion as well. So he's just like, well, no, I think this is the way that this is what I want out of this. And I know that, you might be telling me something that you want or need, but I think it's like extra or, stuff like it's going to add complexity that I'm not okay with, things like that. Right. And Bill will just stick to his guns and be like, no, I don't want it. And I prefer that. I don't want something that is easily pushed around. Right. I really do want someone who has a very focused vision for what the language has to become and sticks to their guns in so doing. I think that creates far better longevity than everybody in the world can say, I want this, I want that. And, the language just turns into whatever. And it might not happen over time, like, in the short term, but it definitely happens over time if you let it. So, I'm sold. I'm sold on Odin. Yeah, Bill's position is BDFL. If you don't like it, fork it. Exactly. But you're Canadian. You have no guns to stick to. They're all made of maple syrup, dried maple syrup. Yeah, C++. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's C++. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, just like built in OpenGL, Port MIDI, SDL2, Raylib, STB, Vulkan, WebGPU, Zlib. It's all in there. It's crazy. GLFW. It's all in there. DirectX, Darwin Metal, Box2D, Font Stash. I mean, it's crazy. Lua. They've got Lua in there. You want some Lua? It's here. It's pretty cool. I think Bill's done a good job of just like sticking to I want this to be good. This is the way I see it being good, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. And if you don't like it, too bad. Hit the road. I'm like, yep, I'm down for that. Sign me up for that. Odin is very inspired by the book Algorithms and Data Structures Equals Programs. Nobody realized that the name of C++ is really just an iterator for bloated BS. Yeah. Which makes me like it too. Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. So far, so good. Yes, the core lib sounds too good to be true. Yeah, but it's there. That's there. Yeah, so far so good. Even the demo here, like the demo code for Odin, which is just like actually trying things out, like parametric polymorphic union. Like that's super readable. I can read this. And it's also pretty cool. Polymorphic names. Matrix multiplication. Yeah. This is all quite cool. Array programming, and so this is kind of what we were dealing with. So yeah, I like it a lot. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We actually have like a foundation here for how we're gonna build out the game. There's a huge application in production which was written in Odin, so that is at least proof of its ability and utility. Swizzle for shizzle, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm writing a product too, which is WebAssembly compiled by Odin. It's just Odin WebAssembly. A lot of the same stuff that we're doing here, though not exactly the same, but there's a lot of overlap. Oh, I've always thought the swizzling should be extended to other languages than shader languages. Well, there you go. How far have I cooked on the product? I am debugging. I'm testing it very thoroughly as I can, and debugging it. I'm making like minor tweaks, and then I guess I just clean up the code and put a sales page up and start integrations with it, because it'll integrate into a bunch of different things. So I'll probably start with a Laravel integration because I already have that. But it's working. Compiled by Odin. Running WebAssembly, and I'll show it off when it's ready. And then if you're talking about the game, we have a sense of, like, we have some error logging. Like, we've essentially figured out how we want to log our errors. We have the array block that's going to store all of our world data. And we kind of have a sense of how we're going to access that data and manipulate it, because I just want one big array block. That's it. I just want to keep this game simple. It's just one big array block, and you just slice it up and using offsets and set and get values based on that. And that's it. Super, super small, super performant. So we've essentially figured that out. It's really nice. It has Odin has an infer array size function ability here, so I can just set the values. Like, this is like ship 1, ship 2. This is map 1. This is map 2. And it's nice that I can set this, and it'll just infer the value, like the size of the array, and then it's just statically, built. That's just set aside in memory, and that's it. That's all you get. And that's how I want it to be. That's exactly how I want it to be. I'm very bounded on purpose because I'm trying to demonstrate that this is quite doable. So it's been good. I really enjoy working with it. It's great. Then we have some enums here, so we kind of have we have enums that we can use to wrap up our structures a little bit, have a little bit of sanity with the way we do things. I think we're going to be off to the races. So, moving forward, I essentially have to figure out how I'm going to do maps and layers. That's going to be fun. And then build some really simple rendering on the JavaScript side. So we're going to have to go here, and we're going to have to, under all this body, right under the head. Yeah, baby. We're just going to start rendering the game. And we already have all the assets for it, and we've already rendered it before. So I can take a bunch of JavaScript code that I've already done, just simplify it quite a bit. I really don't need a lot of this. And now that we're simplifying it so much, and that's it. Just start rendering on div elements. Just go. I mean, it looks kind of straightforward. It mostly is straightforward. Yeah, most of it is pretty straightforward. We're going to get pretty far pretty fast. And as long as we keep it simple. Like, I did on the Zig one, when I did this game, but in Zig, we did entity component systems and finite state machines and all of that stuff. And I'm like, I ended up, we went the route of let's create an editor for the game. Like, no, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just stuck to the game because the game is so simple. Just build out the game, and then if you want, you can build out like editor based stuff around that. Yeah, entity complication system. That's right. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep it simple. It's gonna be really dumb and simple, and we're just gonna start figuring out some of this array stuff, getting it out, creating the functions that get it out, and then just start rendering with JavaScript and CSS and div elements. That's it. That's all I got. I gotta go. It's almost 3 hours. I think it's like 2 hours and 50 minutes. Pretty good. I've got work to do. I'm probably gonna jump on the Discord and hang out in voice chat while I do the work that I gotta do. So if you guys do wanna hop on Discord, you can. There we go. That it was 24 hours. I would do 24 hours if I didn't have work. I would be doing 24 hours, yes. But unfortunately, I have to get some work done. But I'll hang out in Discord while I work. One sec here. So what I'm going to do, I guess I'll have to move you guys over somewhere, right? Let's find out. Okay, let's go sim category. Let's see who's on that we can send you to. Let's see, C++ solo game dev? Nah. We're not going to do that. Svelte? Nah. Not doing that. Shell in C? What is this? Shell in C? I don't know what he's up to, though. He's looking at octrees. Oh, yeah, we're definitely going over there, boys. We're going over there. We're going to see. He's looking at octrees, and the title is Shell in C. Like, yeah. Okay, so everyone on Twitch, I'm sending you over there. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Let me start the raid over. Thank you, everyone. You guys are awesome. If I see you on Discord, I see you on Discord. Otherwise, I'll see you next time I stream, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure when that's going to be. Hopefully soon. Have a good day. Have a good night, wherever you are. Appreciate it. Peace.